All right, we'll start first with Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Adam.
How you doing?
Great.
Good. I wanted to go back to the fumbled punt in the Chargers game.
Oh, man.
Hey,
Okay.
if it were up to me, I would have asked you 5 minutes after the game was over.
I know.
That doesn't work. Was that a bad decision or just a guy in too much of a hurry there?
It's probably too much of a hurry.
I'm sorry, Dave. Brad, I'll have a follow-up.
He just kind of took his eye off the ball. The ball bounced right to him. I mean, if you look at the tape, it landed right in his hands. He just looked up at the coverage and he dropped it. 9 times. I mean, he's going to grab that ball every time, 100% of the time. That ball bounced right to him, so he just bobbled it and put it on the ground, and ended up being a bad play, obviously.
Okay, and even though that one wasn't necessarily a bad decision, do you see him getting better within the decision-making part of his job back there?
There's no question. You really, it's hard to see it on tape, but he's so much more in tune to what's going on and what punters are doing and what they're trying to do to him. He's all the little small details that you really can't see, as a fan or as the normal person just watching the tape. I mean, he's catching on. He's doing very well with that. It's getting better.
Let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Brad, I'll have a quick follow-up to this. Dave, I know that you can't give away certain things, but is McColl the guy in the postseason? Because last year you had a game where you put Tyreek back there. Is that still in the mix for the playoffs?
Tyreek is always in the mix. I mean, he's a guy that, we know can come in and do a great job for us catching. He's if not the best catcher we have on our team. So he's always an option. DeMarcus Robinson, he's an option, but right now McColl's our number one guy, and McColl is, he's got a good body of work and in front of him. So behind him. So he's our guy, and he's our number one guy.
You got my follow-up there too. Thanks, Dave.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach, I know that the NFL made a change for the postseason this year as far as unlimited practice squad elevations. Just wondering how that impacts special teams and how you like that new mix. Ed,
I love it. I love it because now anybody on practice squad, you're allowed 2 elevations, 2 guys that can come up, and it doesn't matter if they already used their elevations during the year. It's like everybody's starting from ground 1, ground 0. So, it doesn't matter. So it's a good thing for us. That 2 guys can be pulled up, even though we had them up before. It just gives you that much more, flexibility in the roster. So I'm kind of happy about it.
Let's go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, I got 2 quick questions with a follow-up, Brad, if you don't mind. Coach, I'm curious about the regular season standings as far as your top special teams guys. Who scored the most points?
Oh boy, I think it was Amani. Watts. He was solid. Pringle was solid. Our 4-phase guys were great. Obviously, Dorian O'Daniel was running away with it until he got hurt. And then he got hurt. And he missed those last few games, and I think he dropped out of the first place. But I was really happy with the guys, the way they all competed and they played during the season. And the key now is to keep getting better. We have 3 games in front of us. That's where we're looking at it, and we got to get better each game.
And also, you brought back Dustin, and you had Johnny on the practice squad for a while as a backup in case of COVID or anything. Some teams have been stashing a backup long snapper too. Do you have a backup long snapper, or is that maybe a wish list for the practice squad you'd like to have?
We have some guys that can do it. Travis Kelce is a guy that can come in a game. If something happened to James, he would be our guy, and we wouldn't bat an eye putting him in there. So, we feel pretty good there. Having Dustin back is really, we were fortunate to be able to get Dustin back. I mean, he's a Chief. He's always been a Kansas City Chief, and he always will be. And it's good to have him back in the locker room with the guys. He's just a fun guy to be around, and he's going to help Tommy, down the stretch here, and he's helping our football team because of the 3 teams that are left in the AFC, there's 2 left-footed punters that are left, and he's giving us those looks during practice. We catch a left ball rotation for our returners, a live ball, which is better than catching off of jugs, and he's been a real asset, having him on the practice squad right now.
We've got 2 more. We'll go Nick Jacobs and then Saran. Go ahead, Nick.
Dave, for you, how on alert do you have to be with some of the fake punts? Because I know the Browns snapped it to the punter earlier this year, and they've had a couple.
Yeah, the punter took off on one and he got ear hold and he fumbled. So I'm not sure he's going to run that again. He might. I mean, we're ready for it if they do. But yeah, I mean, this coach is a good coach. You know, if you're not aware, if you're not on your toes, they can get you at any time. So you always have to be prepared. This is a very good unit that we're facing, and we'll be ready.
We'll go last to Tyrann Petro. Go ahead, Tyrann.
Coach, the divisional game last year against Houston was kind of the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, right?
No question. No question.
What do you say to your team other than obviously, hey, let's not have the bad plays, right? But what do you take away? What is that experience, and what message comes from that game last year as you head into this?
Every play matters. Every play is so important, and especially on special teams. I always say special teams plays are like work 2 plays of offense and 2 plays of defense on 1 play. We lived it. I mean, we gave up, obviously we gave up 2 big plays, bad plays, but then we backed it up with 3 great plays, so we ended up coming out on top. And that's the thing. You just keep on playing, bad things are going to happen sometimes. You got to keep playing and get it to swing in your favor and get, hopefully at the end of the day, you have more big plays for you than you have against you.
All right. Can't really see everybody, but glad to have you all here. It's good to be doing this again. I mean, it feels like forever since we've got together and had a week of practice, but just got done with our second one and feel pretty good about it. So with that, I'll open it up.
We'll go first to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, Herbie. Great.
Hey, from Christian McCaffrey, Mike Davis to Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, you've had your share of facing off against 2-headed running backs in this past season. What is it about this Sunday's matchup that makes it unique or even challenging when you look at Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt?
Yeah, a great question. Typically, you can say when you got 2 running backs that you're facing, you can say, okay, when 24's in there, here are some things that they run. When 27's in there, they run their whole offense with both of them. That's where they're really effective. So you can't get a beat on that. We've got to defend the scheme. What makes it challenging, their run scheme to me, what makes it challenging is the fact that Baker Mayfield, their misdirection runs are really him running boots and movement passes. And that's where our eyes got to be right. That's where we got to build the wall, track the hip and set the edge just like we talk about. But they present a problem, no question.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
We'll go next to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Steve. I know a lot of people have talked about Tyrann and him being a good fit with what you do. Can you talk specifically about what it is about what you like to do with defense that made Tyrann a good fit? And I'm also curious if you've gone even beyond what you've done before to kind of highlight his talents.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it until you just said that, but I'd probably say yes, that we have gone a little bit more beyond, because there are some things that we do with him now that I don't recall us doing in prior places. So, and really that's because first and foremost is him from the chin to the hairline. You're talking about an intelligent football player that loves it. And you know that if you feed something to Tyrann, he's going to get it and he's going to know why. And in the game of football, I mean, we lay out all these plans and, you go from Monday to Saturday and into Sunday, but things change so quick on game day. And the one thing about Tyrann is you can go over to him and say, let's tweak this or do that. And he knows exactly why, and he does it. He's great to have. The other guys, a guy like that, we all focus on what he does, the stats and gets the interceptions, tackles, the whole thing. But to me, one of the greatest things about having a guy like that is how he makes the other 10 better. And I truly believe that he does that with our unit because of the confidence that they have in him and the communication and plays he's going to make, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's go next to Therese Paylor. Go ahead, Therese.
Hey, Coach Spags, how you doing today?
Hey, Therese.
Hey, quick question for you, man. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and people across multiple industries are trying really hard to find common ground so they can accomplish big goals. The NFL locker room is actually a great example of that. So my question to you is, what have you as a leader, what has Andy and your captains done to maintain a positive and healthy locker room culture amid these trying times? And Brad, I have a quick follow-up to that.
Yeah, awesome question. And if I was to guess, when you talk about our leaders, Patrick and Tyrann and a bunch of other ones, it's just the level of respect that they show to all people. it's visual acts of respect. It's not just talk with our guys. And our guys are close in the unit. And I think sometimes when all these things are going on around, and there's one thing I think that gets missed here, like coaches, we're in this building and we're kind of behind these walls. We don't even see the real world, but our guys have to leave here every day and they have to go out and be real people. And my guess is the guys that we're talking about, the leaders, have just projected and represented us really well. And I go back to character and respect. And I think we got a load of that on our team.
I understand. And I mean, you've been in the league a long time, just like Andy. Like in general, like you've been a part of some really good teams, some winners. So like, does in your experience, do politics come up at all in the locker room? And if they do, like, how do players kind of walk around that or deal with it? Or do they talk about it head on?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't spend a lot of time in the locker room, quite honest, and being truthful. Now, listen, in our meetings, you go back to when everything was kind of in flux back when we were having our virtual meetings. We made it a point in our virtual meetings to talk about that pretty much every day for a pretty good period of time. I just wanted the guys to know that it meant something to us as coaches. You know, it wasn't just lost. It wasn't just talk. And then I think our players just kind of ran with that, which I thought was really, really good.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Steve, you talked a minute ago about Tyrann Mathieu and how he kind of makes the 10 guys around him better. How unusual or rare is that? You run across a number of guys over the years who you could say that about, do you feel like, or no?
Listen, they're few and far between. But there's a few guys against Antonio Pierce in New York, Brian Dawkins in Philadelphia, James Laurinaitis when I was in St. Louis. Our unit had a really good year the second year, but he was that kind of guy. It's the guy, even Anthony Hitchens is the same way with us here. It's the guys that can walk in each individual grouping, whether it's D-line, linebackers, DBs, and, you know, and they just kind of get along and people respond to them. Those are the kind of guys that you need as many of those guys as you can get. I think we have a few of those guys that can do that, can talk to all the groups, and they listen. People respect them.
Got time for a couple more guys. We'll go Nate and then Mick. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Steve, I have two questions for you. The first is a follow-up to Herbie's question about the running backs. They seem to be extremely effective as pass catchers as well. I just wonder what that dynamic does to you and how it may shift your personnel packages, because they tend to play more like, you know, some bigger wideouts than obviously a traditional running back.
Yeah, certainly Kareem. And the guys here, some guys that have been here when he was here obviously know that he's a threat. You can put him out and he's like a wideout defender. We have to be aware of that. Always got to know where 27 is. It'd be easy if, you know, you put a running back in there and you say he catches the ball all the time, and you put one in there and you say he runs it all the time. But you're dead on with both these guys. They can do extremely well at both of them, and they don't skip a beat. It's kind of what I was saying earlier, no matter which one they have in there. So I think that's a luxury for them. It's got to be something that we're aware of. You know, normally we'd be in practice and put a 24 and a 27 jersey on and say, okay, you got to know that when 27's in there, they got a chance of doing this. But, you know, quite frankly, this week, we got to defend the running back. Whichever running back is in there could run the football, catch it. And I think our guys have been in tune to that, and hopefully they'll show up in the game.
And you mentioned Anthony earlier. He was on the COVID list for a while away from you guys. Just how has he tried to get back in line with what he was doing earlier this season? And obviously we know the idea of just how guys are trying to manage, you know, when they obviously encounter COVID and have to stay away. So just what has he been like since he's been back with you guys?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. It feels completely different. Like, first of all, Ben Neiman and Darius Harris did a great job. And I don't know if you guys caught it at all, but, you know, Colin Saunders played some linebacker for us in that last game. God bless him, man. He was out there. He looked like Levon Kirkland. We had Levon Kirkland in Philadelphia at the end of his career. He looked just like him. And he had some fun with it, and we needed him. I mean, we had all the guys getting banged up. But getting back to Anthony, you felt his presence in the bye week the minute we had those practices, and he was back with us. He just, listen, the guys gravitate to him in front of the huddle, the communication he makes on the line of scrimmage, the whole thing. Guys felt it. We feel it as coaches. We know we can do a little bit more when you have a guy like that. So we're sure glad we got him back.
Last one to Mick Schaefer. Go ahead, Mick.
Hey, Steve, last year, one of the playoff themes for you guys was obviously the slow starts, but I believe you gave up just 7 points in the fourth quarters of those 3 games. Do you feel like that was something that maybe got lost in the shuffle, and how big was that in you guys being able to do what you did?
Well, certainly in any playoff game, fourth quarter is huge. I mean, we know, you guys have all the stats, and we know that these playoff games come down to last possessions or one possession football games. We know that. So playing good defense in the fourth quarter is huge. Now, I will be honest with you, because my mind goes this way. We have not done a great job of that. Kind of down the stretch here. We did earlier in the year. So it's something that we need to rise up, take care of. We worked on it a little bit in the bye week as much as you can. But listen, I certainly hope that we can play our best football in the fourth quarter. Let's say that.
All right. Good afternoon. I know it's been a few weeks, but hopefully everyone has remained safe. Hopefully everyone's families are safe as well. Feels good to be back out on the practice field. Our guys last week had an opportunity to get back to some fundamentals, some things that we felt that we needed to work on to help us moving forward. On top of that, we got guys getting re-energized and getting a little bit more excited about the opportunity that we're going to face this week. So with all that said, I'm all ears.
Let's go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, EB, I have 2 questions for you. Just in your time coaching Kareem, just what did you learn about him as a person? And then can you kind of describe just your feelings when it became clear that he wasn't going to be a part of the team moving forward?
Well, first of all, Kareem is a beautiful kid. He is a beautiful spirit about himself. All right. And I know that you guys really don't get to see that side of him. I mean, he's a fun-loving family guy, and he's one of those kids that you just can't help but want great things to happen to and happen for. But as far as a player, a beast. Runs hard, plays hard, knows how to maximize every opportunity, okay? You can see that when he's out on the field. He runs with an attitude, and he runs with a determined mindset that he's going to find a way to make it across that line. And then, obviously, losing him, that was a different deal. And obviously he's been missed, but more than anything, I'm proud of the growth process that he's gone through. I'm proud to see where he is. I'm proud to see him still pursuing his goals and all the accomplishments that he has made. And I mean, hell, he's like one of our own. And I know we'll be facing him this week, and that'll be a little different. But when it's all said and done with, I know he'll come out and do exactly what he wants to do. He's going to play hard, and he's going to play fast, and he's going to be the best running back that he can possibly be for them.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go, Pete.
Coach EB, Sammy Watkins was so important for you guys in the stretch last year as you face some of these better teams in the playoffs. A little unclear. I won't ask you to comment on the injury, but if he can't go, how do you feel, and how confident are you in your guys to be able to replace everything that he's able to do?
Well, you guys have heard me say this before. We want all hands on deck, but if Sammy can't go, the next man got to be ready. And that's how we prep. That's why we got a great coaching staff. We believe in our coaches. Our coaches are great teachers. They're great communicators. On top of that, they've developed an outstanding relationship with our players to get the best out of them. So if Sammy's out there, we know exactly what we're going to get. If he's not out there, then you know what? It's okay. The next man will step up.
Let's go next to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, good afternoon. This is the obligatory question because you were kind of a busy man last week. How did the job interviews go, and what was your biggest takeaway from virtually meeting with, I believe it was 5 of 6 teams?
Well, Herbie, let me just say this, okay? First of all, it was an honor and a privilege, but that's not what we're here for, all right? We're here to talk about the Cleveland Browns. And you've heard us talk about this before. We eliminate all distractions, okay? At the end of the day, my focus and attention is on the Cleveland Browns. This is a great team, and they're playing some great ball. They got some young guys up front that are playing tremendous. They got some guys in the second level with those backers, and they got a heck of a secondary group. One of those guys we're very familiar with. So we're looking forward to this challenge. I know our guys are fired up and excited. They're refreshed. They've hit the reset button. Now it's time to get out there and produce and show exactly what we're about.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go Todd and then Nick. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to follow up a little bit on Kareem. Professional football is different than college football. I mean, you got to do the job or you're not going to be there. And if you get in trouble, you're gone. As you were his running backs coach his first year, you imagine you're pretty close with him. How disappointed were you for him that he got himself in a situation where he couldn't be on the team anymore. And is he someone you follow up with and stay in contact with and check and see how he's doing?
Well, first of all, if you've ever known anything about me, I keep a personal relationship with all my guys, because not only do I take pride in coaching them, but also too, it's all about getting to know the person and knowing the ins and outs of who they are and what defines them and what makes them the special person that they are. And so obviously it's one of those things. Yes, I do follow exactly what he does. I'm paying close attention because I'm obviously going to be a fan. I'm going to always be his fan. But when it's all said and done with, for whatever reason, things happen in life. All right. And sometimes when those things happen, they end up being more of a learning lesson and a life lesson moving forward. Because sometimes, you guys have heard me say this before, sometimes without no bad luck, we wouldn't have any good luck at all. So it's unfortunate what happened. Okay. And I think Kareem would tell you the same exact thing. All right. Nobody wants to have a separation that way. But when it's all said and done with, it has benefited him in the long run because he's grown, he's matured, he's a better person. He understands where he fits in this world. And I am so proud of the man that he's becoming. And obviously what he does on the field speaks for itself. I will always be proud of that.
Last one to Nick Jacobs. Go ahead, Nick.
Eric, for you, I'm curious about defensive coordinator Joe Woods. You've had a couple chances to go against him when he's the Broncos DC, and then in the Super Bowl with the 49ers. Kind of what's his scheme? What's his style like?
You know what? Joe is a laid back, cool customer. He's very smart. He's very intelligent. And I mean, he's going to watch everything that we've done. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's pulled out tape from the Bronco days and from the Raider days when he coached there. And I know he's going to pull out some tape from last year's game in the Super Bowl. So one thing about Joe, you don't have to worry about those guys not being prepared. They're going to be prepared because that's who Joe is. And he's fundamentally sound. He's going to make sure those guys are focused and locked in on the details of what they need to do. And, it's kind of tough because knowing Joe as well as I do and knowing Kevin Stefanski, all of us have a prior relationship which has grown over the years. I've been their biggest fans and just watching those guys. But at some point we have to meet. And so this weekend, looking forward to that battle, that matchup. But on top of that, I do understand this. It's our job to make sure that our guys are ready. And it's our job to make sure that we're putting our guys in the right situations, okay, to be successful. And so that's what we're looking forward to. And I'm fired up. Can't wait.
And as you face the Browns, a lot of what they like to do is to run the play action and sort of make the runs look like the passes and vice versa. How important, when you're facing that, does communication between the multiple levels become for y'all?
Yeah, it's extremely important. I think, any team you playing, in this league, it's extremely important to, communicate before the snap and after the snap. I'll probably add one more thing. I think it's going to come down to discipline as well. They're going to do some of the same things, but they're going to do it different ways. One may be a run, one may be a pass. So, but it's going to look the same, and we're going to have to be very, very disciplined, in our assignments.
Let's go next to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Tyrann.
Hey.
Brad, I'm going to have a real quick follow if I can. Tyrann, I'm curious from your point of view. You were a great player before you got here. I understand that, but it seems like your play has gone to a different level. Is there something, what is it about what you walked into? What is it about what's provided here that has maybe brought out, even another level than what you had before?
Yeah, I mean, I got to really, give my coaches a lot of credit. I've had a lot of great coaches, over my career, even going back to high school. I think sometimes, guys can, not coach people like me because they assume that I know it all and they assume that I'm always prepared. I think when I came here, just the instructions I've been given, the teachers I have, Spags, Coach Merritt, I'm constantly, being taught something new, every day. So for me, my passion for the game is like growing. I love to be around my teammates. I love to be involved, with the schemes and stuff. But I got to give a lot of that credit to my coaches, for the way that they're teaching me, going forward.
Okay. And then the other thing is kind of just in the opposite direction, right? Like do you have a sense, I've heard this from people in the building, do you have a sense that your specific strengths, what you do well, what you're valuable for, is exactly what this team needed when you walked in the door, that they've sort of responded, the same way, and you've brought out their best?
Yeah, I mean, I like to look at it like that. I think this team was already great, before I got here. They had a bunch of wins, a bunch of division titles. For me, what I try to come here and do is just, work every day. Every practice means something to me. Every rep is like personal. I'm trying to get better. I think that's really my intent, is to always get better.
Let's go next to Therese Paler. Go ahead, Therese.
Hey, Tyrann, how you doing?
Hey, doing good.
Hey, man, quick question for you. And Brad, I got a quick follow-up to it. There's a lot going on in the world, and people are trying really hard to find common ground to accomplish big goals. And I think a great example of that's in the NFL, and actually you guys, right? So my question for you is, how do you and the other captains maintain a healthy locker room amid trying times when, like not everybody's going to agree politically on stuff happening? Like, what are some of the steps and things you guys do as captains to make sure you don't let the stuff going on in the world get in the way of your common goal, which is repeating?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, well, most of us in the locker room, we all appreciate each other. So, approaching us or, having hard conversations, it's not really difficult for us. I think we got a team that's really focused on football and focused on winning. I feel like some of the other conversations we've had, it's been fairly easy. I think in our mind, we understand, who we are and what we represent. And it's all about us, showing that bond, showing that commitment, to one another. But it's an open floor, all of us respect each other, appreciate each other. And I think, that's the start, that's how you continue to grow.
Gotcha. And Spag says you guys spent some time every day kind of this summer talking about social issues. What were those discussions like for you? And how long did they last? And lastly, how good was it to kind of get those feelings out? Like, is that a big part of this? Just getting out what you have to say, and having that heard.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Spags did a great job. I think for one, all of us are men. I think at the end of the day, we all want to be accepted. We all want to be heard. And I think just having Spags, open the floor, and if you've been around Spags, like he's all ball. He's all about the next practice and the next rep. And so for him to kind of take time out of what he really want to do, which is teach, I think that says a lot about him. A lot about our assistant coaches. All those guys were involved in the conversations, and for us, it made us feel so great. To have that conversation. For our D coordinator kind of open the floor. I truly believe we all felt like we were in the right place, at the right time.
Let's go next to Harold Kuntz. Go ahead, Harold.
Hey, Tyrann. Hope you're doing well, man.
Hey, doing good.
Two quick questions. First, when it comes on the field, you guys had success with stopping Derrick Henry, holding him to 69, well below his average in the AFC Championship game. You seem to have this success when top running backs you guys face. What is it about you guys as a defense when you face top running backs and just that extra motivation, that extra gear that it gives you to go? And then I'll have the second question after.
Yeah, I think, really it's just a commitment, to each other. Obviously, it's a big challenge, and I think anytime, really over the last couple of years, last 2 years, I think every time our defense has been challenged or had to step up to a challenge, I always feel like my guys, are ready and prepared. A lot of that has to do with the coaches. A lot of that has to do with individuals, taking it upon themselves to kind of stay committed and stay disciplined. But, I like my guys. We always rise, to the challenge.
And then the other question, you tweeted about Eric Bieniemy and how you said he brings out the best in people and he even inspires you. Could you just elaborate into how, a guy like him brings out the best in the players and inspires you individually?
Yeah, I think all great players, all good players, they want to be coached. They want to be coached hard, and they want to be coached the right way. And I think the last part of it, they want to be coached by somebody that they know, will have their back. And I think Coach Bieniemy really embodies that. Even as a defensive player, to see him get on Tyreek and get on Kelsey and push those guys to the next level, even though those guys have reached, great heights. I think that says a lot about him as a coach, as a motivator. You know, and like I said in my tweet, you know, I'm inspired by him. You know, me and him, you know, share some of the same background, you know, being from, you know, Louisiana, and, you know, we have some of the same, you know, friends in a sense. And so I always want the best for him, but, you know, he's definitely one of those guys I feel like definitely deserving.
Got time for two more. We'll go Herbie and then Vahe. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Tyrann, just to follow up, a quick follow up to Pete Sweeney's earlier question, where you mentioned that defending against the Browns play action, but specific to their backfield with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, what is the unique challenge preparing to face these two running backs?
I mean, it's you know, it's like a double-headed monster. You know, when one checks out the game, another one comes in. Both of those guys are elite. I think in their own way. You know, obviously, you know, Kareem, you know, he can do a lot, you know, things out the backfield. You know, they motion him out a lot in empty sets, trying to find a matchup. And, you know, Nick Chubb he reminds me of those old school runners. You know what I mean? You know, big, stocky, you know, low to the ground, tough to tackle. So, and then both of those guys are good in the pass game, and they use them in the same way. So it can kind of get tricky, you know, when you're watching film. But yeah, I mean, I'll describe him as a two-headed monster.
Let's go last to Vahe Gregorian. Good, Vahe.
Hey, Tyrann. Obviously, it's a great challenge to try to repeat, and you dealt with that pretty well during the regular season, of course. But I wonder at this stage what the difference is between thinking you can do it and knowing you've done it, and how that might be part of your mojo right now.
Well, I think it's all the same, you know, especially for me. You know, it's all about the work you put in, you know, during the week. You know, it's all about how attentive you are in meetings. You know, are you listening to your coach when he's giving these little nuggets? And, you know, can you take all the information to the field? You know, and can you do it at a high level? You know, I think that's really what it's all about.